I'm so glad you're here with me today. Please like this video and stay till the very end, and let me know what city you're watching from in the comments. I love seeing how far my story travels across this beautiful country. I never imagined that at 63 years old, I'd have to teach my own son the hardest lesson of his life. My name is Patricia Reynolds, and I live in a comfortable 3-bedroom ranch house in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm a retired elementary school teacher with a pension, some smart investments, and about $700,000 in savings that I'd spent 35 years building up. Money I'd planned to enjoy in retirement and eventually leave to my only child, Michael. Michael was my pride and joy. Valedictorian of his high school, full scholarship to Arizona State, and now a successful pharmaceutical sales rep pulling in 6 figures. He married Amber 5 years ago, a stunning blonde with a marketing degree and an Instagram account full of luxury brand posts and motivational quotes about manifesting abundance. I liked Amber at first. She was bubbly, energetic, always posting family photos and calling me Mom Pat in that sweet voice. But about 8 months ago, something shifted. It started small. They'd been renting a nice apartment in Phoenix, but suddenly Amber was obsessed with buying a house. Not just any house, a Mediterranean-style villa in Paradise Valley with a price tag of $1.2 million. "Mom, we found our dream home," Michael said during Sunday dinner at my place. His eyes were bright with excitement, but there was something else there too, something nervous. "That's wonderful, honey. Your credit must be excellent to qualify for something in Paradise Valley." Amber's smile tightened slightly. "Well, actually, Mom Pat, we were hoping you might help us with the down payment. Just a loan, of course, we'd pay you back." I set down my fork. "How much are we talking about?" $200,000, Michael said quickly. "I know it sounds like a lot, but Paradise Valley properties only appreciate. It's basically an investment for you too." $200,000, nearly a third of my life savings. "That's a significant amount," I said carefully. "Let me think about it." Over the next few weeks, the pressure intensified. Amber would send me Zillow links at midnight with messages like, "This one's perfect, but we need to act fast." Michael would call with updates about other buyers circling the property, how this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Then came the guilt trips. "Mom, you're living in a 3-bedroom house all by yourself," Amber said during one of her increasingly frequent visits. She walked through my home like she was conducting an inspection. "This place must be worth, what, $400,000? You could downsize to a nice 1-bedroom condo, help us with the house, and still have plenty left over." "I like my house, Amber. I've lived here for 23 years. "But you're 63. You don't need all this space. And honestly, Mom Pat, at your age, wouldn't it be smarter to have your money working for the family instead of just sitting in some boring savings account?" At my age, as if 63 meant I had 1 foot in the grave. "My money is working fine where it is, thank you." Amber's sweet mask slipped for just a moment. "Michael is your only child. Don't you want him to have the life he deserves? Or are you going to be one of those selfish parents who dies with a fat bank account while their kids struggled?" I showed her to the door that day, but the calls didn't stop. Michael started calling late at night, his voice strained. "Mom, Amber's really upset. She thinks you don't care about our future. All her friends' parents helped them buy houses. She's starting to think you don't consider her real family." "Michael, $200,000 is not a casual loan. We'd pay you back. I'm making great money. We just need help with the down payment." But something in his voice didn't sound right. There was a desperation there that made my teacher instincts kick in, the same instinct that always told me when a student was lying about their homework. I did something I'd never done before. I called Michael's boss, Bill Henderson, whom I'd met several times at company events. Bill had always been kind to me, treated me with respect. "Mrs. Reynolds, what a pleasant surprise," Bill said when he answered. "Bill, I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. Is Michael doing well at work? Is his job secure?" There was a long pause, too long. "Mrs. Reynolds, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but Michael's been underperforming for the past 6 months. His sales numbers are down 40%. We've had customer complaints. Between you and me, he's on thin ice. If he doesn't turn things around by the end of Q4, we might have to let him go." My stomach dropped. Has something been distracting him? He's been taking a lot of long lunches, leaving early. And his expense reports have been, let's say, creative. Nothing illegal, but pushing the boundaries. I thanked Bill and hung up, my mind racing. Michael was struggling at work, yet they wanted to buy a $1.2 million house. None of this made sense. Unless it wasn't about the house at all. I opened my laptop, something my children always assumed I barely knew how to use, and did some investigating. I started with Amber's very public Instagram account. What I found made my blood run cold. Post after post about luxury brands, photos at expensive restaurants tagged with date night goals, a Chanel purse in one photo, Laobout in heels in another, a girl's trip to Cabo San Lucas, a surprise Mercedes C-Class in the driveway with the caption, "My husband spoils me." I scrolled back through the timestamps. All of this spending started about 8 months ago, right when their behavior toward me changed. Then I found the real smoking gun. A post from 3 weeks ago, quickly deleted, but I'd learned to check cached pages, showing Amber at a Scottsdale spa with the caption, "Pre-shopping self-care day." Gotta manifest that down payment money. They weren't planning to buy a house. They'd already been living like millionaires on credit, and now they needed my money to bail themselves out of debt. I sat back in my chair, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest. My son and his wife had been lying to me, manipulating me, trying to guilt me into funding their reckless lifestyle. That's when I decided I wouldn't just say no, I would teach them a lesson they'd never forget. I picked up my phone and called my financial advisor, Tom Chen, whom I'd worked with for 15 years. "Tom, I need to move some money around, all of it actually, and I need to do it today." The next phase of my plan required help. I called my sister, Linda, who lived in Denver. Linda was a retired family therapist and the only person I trusted completely. "Linda, I need you to come to Scottsdale for a week, and I need you to play along with something." "What's going on, Pat?" I told her everything. The pressure, the lies, the Instagram evidence, Michael's job troubles. When I finished, Linda was quiet for a long moment. "Those little shits," she finally said. Linda rarely cursed. "What do you need me to do?" "I need you to pretend to be my financial advisor. I'm going to stage a meeting where Michael and Amber think they're finally getting access to my money, but what they're actually going to get is the truth." "I love it. I'm booking a flight right now." Over the next 3 days, I set the stage. I called Michael and used a shaky, defeated voice. "Honey, you're right. I've been selfish. I'm getting older and I don't need all this money. I want to help you and Amber get your dream home. Can you both come over Saturday afternoon? I'll have my financial advisor here and we can discuss the transfer." Michael's voice exploded with excitement. "Mom, really? Oh my God, Amber's going to be so happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just promise me you'll use it wisely." "Of course, Mom, this is going to change our lives." He had no idea how right he was. Saturday arrived. Linda flew in Friday night and we spent the evening preparing. She dressed in a professional navy suit, carried a leather briefcase, and looked every bit the serious financial advisor. I set up my dining room like a board meeting. Papers spread across the table, my laptop open, even a pot of coffee brewing. I wanted this to feel official, important. Michael and Amber arrived at 2 p.m. sharp. Amber was practically vibrating with excitement, dressed in designer clothes I now knew she couldn't afford. Michael wore his best suit, like he was closing a business deal. "Mom," he hugged me tightly, "this is the most generous thing anyone's ever done for us." "Well, family takes care of family," I said, my voice warm. "Come sit down. This is Linda Chen, my financial advisor." Linda shook their hands with professional coolness. "Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, pleasure to meet you. Mrs. Reynolds has asked me to facilitate this transfer, but first, we need to review some paperwork." "Of course, whatever you need," Amber said, her eyes gleaming as she looked at the papers on the table. Linda opened her briefcase and pulled out several folders. "Mrs. Reynolds has been my client for 15 years. In that time, she's accumulated approximately $700,000 in liquid assets, not counting her home equity and pension." Amber actually licked her lips. I felt sick. "However," Linda continued, her voice sharpening, "before we proceed with any transfer, I need to conduct what we call a recipient assessment. It's standard procedure for large financial gifts to family members." Michael shifted uncomfortably. "What kind of assessment?" "Just some questions about your current financial situation, income stability, existing debts. We need to ensure the funds will be used responsibly." That seems excessive, Amber said, her smile faltering. We're family. It's for everyone's protection, Linda said smoothly. Now, Michael, you work in pharmaceutical sales, correct? What's your current annual income? Around 90,000 base plus commission. And what were your commission earnings last quarter? Michael's face reddened. It was a slow quarter, about 12,000. Down from your usual how much? Maybe 40,000, but the market's been tough. I see, and Amber, you're in marketing. Social media marketing. I'm a freelancer. What were your earnings last year? Amber hesitated. I'm building my brand right now, maybe 18,000. Linda made notes, her expression neutral. So your combined income is approximately 120,000, possibly less given Michael's recent performance issues. Performance issues? Amber shot Michael a sharp look. And what are your current monthly expenses? Linda continued. That's private, Amber snapped. Not if you want access to Mrs. Reynolds' money, it isn't. Linda's voice was steel. I have a fiduciary responsibility to my client. I watched Michael and Amber exchange panicked glances. They hadn't expected to be questioned, challenged. They'd thought this would be a simple signing ceremony followed by a champagne celebration. Fine, Michael said. Our rent is $3,000 a month. Car payments are about $900 total. Then there's insurance, food, utilities, maybe another $2,000. So roughly $6,000 in fixed expenses, Linda calculated. That leaves you about $4,000 a month after taxes from your income. Very comfortable, so you should have substantial savings by now. Silence. You do have savings, don't you? We've had some unexpected expenses, Amber said defensively. Linda pulled out another piece of paper. I knew what was coming and my heart was pounding. I took the liberty of running a credit check. Standard procedure for large financial transfers. Michael, you have $47,000 in credit card debt across 6 cards. Amber, you have $32,000 on 4 cards. You have 2 car loans totaling $65,000. You owe $19,000 to a medical spa, and you have an outstanding personal loan of $35,000. The color drained from Michael's face. Amber looked like she might be sick. That's almost $200,000 in consumer debt, Linda said, her voice cutting. Your debt-to-income ratio is completely underwater. You're spending roughly $8,000 a month while earning $5,000 after taxes. How did you get that information? Amber shrieked. That's illegal. It's a standard credit inquiry, perfectly legal with proper authorization, Linda lied smoothly. She looked at me. Mrs. Reynolds, I cannot in good conscience recommend this transfer. These recipients are financially irresponsible and would likely squander your life savings within 2 years. I let tears well up in my eyes. Real tears, because despite everything this hurt, but they promised they needed it for a house down payment. Linda pulled out her phone and turned it toward Michael and Amber. On the screen was Amber's Instagram, the deleted post about manifesting down payment money, clearly visible. You weren't planning to buy a house, were you? Linda asked quietly. You were planning to use Mrs. Reynolds' money to pay off your massive debts so you could continue your unsustainable lifestyle. That's not, Michael started. Don't lie to me, Michael, I said, my voice breaking. I know about your job, I know you're underperforming, I know about the expense report issues, I know everything. Amber stood up abruptly. You went snooping through our private business. What kind of mother does that? The kind who spent 35 years saving every penny so she could retire comfortably and maybe leave something for her son. The kind who gets manipulated by her own child and his wife, who have been lying for months. We weren't lying, Michael said, but his voice was weak. We just needed help. You needed $200,000 to dig yourselves out of a hole you created by pretending to be rich. My voice rose despite my intention to stay calm. Designer purses, luxury cars, expensive vacations, all on credit while you came to me with your hands out. We would have paid you back, Amber insisted. With what money? Michael's losing his job and you barely work. I'm building a brand. You're building debt. I stood up, feeling 35 years of teaching authority flowing through me. You're 28 years old, Amber, living like you're a millionaire when you're actually broke. And you, Michael, you're my son and I love you, but you've disappointed me more than I can express. Michael's eyes filled with tears. Mom, please. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady now. Linda isn't actually my financial advisor. She's your Aunt Linda, a family therapist, and she's been helping me understand what you two have been doing to me. Amber's face went from red to white. You set us up. I protected myself, and here's the rest of the news. 3 days ago, I moved all of my liquid assets into an irrevocable trust. I'm the beneficiary during my lifetime, and when I die, it goes to charity. The Arizona Humane Society specifically. You're leaving everything to dogs, Amber shrieked. I'm leaving it to an organization that helps creatures who can't help themselves, which is more than I can say for you too. I pulled out another document. I've also updated my will. My house will be sold upon my death, and those proceeds will also go to charity. You will inherit exactly nothing. Michael collapsed into his chair. Mom, you can't do this. I absolutely can. It's my money, earned through decades of work while you were being raised and educated. Money I saved by driving used cars and packing my lunch every day. Money I invested wisely instead of spending on things I couldn't afford. We're your family, he whispered. Family doesn't manipulate. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't try to guilt a 63-year-old woman into funding their irresponsible lifestyle. Amber grabbed her purse. Come on, Michael, we don't need her or her money. But Michael didn't move. He sat there, staring at the table, and I could see the boy I'd raised somewhere beneath the man who'd tried to con me. Michael, I said softly, I'm going to give you a choice. You can leave with Amber right now, continue down this path, and we can be done. Or you can stay, listen to what I have to say, and maybe we can salvage something from this disaster. Amber tugged on his arm. Michael, let's go, she's insane. I'm the sanest person in this room, I said. I'm the one who's not drowning in debt. I'm the one who's been honest. Michael looked up at Amber, then at me, then back at Amber. Go to the car, Amber. I need to talk to my mom alone. Michael's. Go to the car. It was the first time I'd heard him stand up to her in months. Amber grabbed her designer purse and stormed out, slamming my door so hard a picture frame rattled on the wall. Michael and I sat in silence. Linda quietly gathered her papers and went to the kitchen, giving us privacy. I'm sorry, Michael finally said, his voice breaking. Mom, I'm so sorry. Tell me what happened, the truth. And he did. It poured out of him, all of it. How Amber had expensive tastes from the start, but he'd been making good money, so he'd indulged her. How she'd started comparing their life to her friends, all of whom had wealthy parents subsidizing their lifestyles. How the spending had gotten out of control, and he'd been too proud to admit they couldn't afford it. How he'd gotten distracted at work, stressed about money, and his performance had suffered. How the debt had piled up until he was drowning. The house wasn't even real, he admitted. I mean, we looked at it, but we couldn't qualify for the mortgage. We needed the money to pay off our debts before the credit card companies started suing us. Why didn't you just come to me honestly? Why the manipulation? Because I was ashamed, and Amber said you'd never give us money for debt. She said we had to make it seem like an investment, something you'd feel good about. So you lied. So we lied. He put his head in his hands. God, Mom, what have I done? I've ruined everything. My job, my finances, my relationship with you. I sat down next to him. Michael, you're 33 years old enough to know better but young enough to fix this, but you have to actually want to fix it. I do, I swear I do. Then here's my offer. I'm not giving you $200,000. That ship has sailed, but I will help you under very specific conditions. He looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. First, you and Amber go to financial counseling, real counseling with a professional for at least 6 months. Second, you cut up every credit card and commit to a debt repayment plan. Third, you downsize your life. Cheaper apartment, sell one of those ridiculous cars, no more designer anything until you're debt-free. Okay, yes, anything. I'm not done. Fourth, you go to couples therapy because your marriage has some serious issues if Amber thought manipulating your mother was acceptable. Fifth, you get serious about your job, apologize to your boss, and prove you can be the salesman you used to be. I can do that, I will. And finally, you rebuild trust with me. That means honesty always. That means regular communication that isn't about money. That means proving through your actions that you've changed. What happens if I do all that? If you do all that, and I mean genuinely do it, not just go through the motions, Then when you're back on your feet, when you're debt-free and stable, I might consider helping you with a legitimate down payment on a modest home. Might. But that's years away, Michael, and it depends entirely on whether you can prove you've grown up. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Thank you for not giving up on me completely. You're my son, I love you, but love doesn't mean being a doormat. I stood up. Now go talk to your wife, she has a choice to make too. Either she's on board with this plan or you need to seriously reconsider your marriage. Michael stood, hugged me tightly, and walked out to face Amber. Through my window, I watched them argue in the driveway. Amber was gesturing wildly, clearly furious. Michael stood his ground and I felt a small spark of pride. Finally, he was finding his spine. After 20 minutes, Amber got in her Mercedes and sped off alone. Michael sat in his car for a long time, then drove away more slowly. Linda came out from the kitchen. Think he'll follow through? I don't know, I admitted, but I gave him the chance. What he does with it is up to him. The next few months were telling. Michael called me 3 days after the confrontation. Amber had moved back in with her parents in Phoenix, refusing to participate in any counseling or lifestyle changes. She wanted a divorce unless Michael could get his mother to see reason and give them the money they deserved. Michael filed for divorce. He moved into a studio apartment in Tempe, sold the Mercedes and his own BMW, bought a used Honda Civic. He started seeing a financial counselor and a therapist. He went to his boss, admitted his struggles, and asked for a chance to prove himself. Bill Henderson called me a month later. Mrs. Reynolds, I don't know what you said to your son, but he's a changed man. His numbers are back up, he's focused. He's honest about his limitations and asking for help when he needs it. I'm taking him off probation. Michael and I had dinner every Sunday, just the two of us. At first, the conversations were awkward, careful, but slowly we started rebuilding. He told me about his therapy sessions, what he was learning about himself, how he'd let Amber's influence corrupt his values. She wasn't a bad person, he said one evening, but together we brought out the worst in each other. I became someone I didn't recognize. The important thing is you recognized it and you're fixing it. 2 years passed. Michael paid off all his credit card debt. He got promoted at work. He started dating again, this time a teacher named Rachel who drove a 10-year-old Subaru and thought his studio apartment was cozy. On his 35th birthday, I gave him an envelope. What's this? Open it. Inside was a check for $25,000 and a note. Toward a down payment on a modest home when you're ready. I'm proud of the man you've become. Love, Mom. Michael cried, actually sobbed. Mom, I don't deserve this. You've earned it, not the old Michael who tried to manipulate me. The new Michael who took responsibility, did the hard work and changed his life. He used that money, combined with his own savings, to buy a small 3-bedroom house in Gilbert. Nothing fancy, just a starter home with a nice yard. Rachel moved in 6 months later. They got married in my backyard, a simple ceremony with 30 people and homemade food. At the reception, Michael gave a speech. I want to thank my mom for teaching me the hardest lesson I've ever learned. She loved me enough to say no when I needed to hear it. She was strong enough to let me fail so I could learn to succeed. Mom, you saved my life, even though at the time I thought you were ruining it. 3 years after that confrontation in my dining room, I'm now 66. Michael and Rachel just had their first child, my granddaughter Emma. I updated my trust last week. Now when I die, 75% goes to charity and 25% goes to Michael with strict conditions. It can only be used for Emma's education or medical emergencies. Michael hugged me when I told him, That's more than fair, Mom. That's more than I deserve after what I put you through. You've more than made up for it. As for Amber, I heard through mutual friends that she married a dentist within a year of the divorce. Someone wealthy enough to actually fund her lifestyle. I hope she's happy. I hope she learned something. But mostly I just don't think about her anymore. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd just given them that money. They would have burned through it in months, come back asking for more, and when I had nothing left to give, they probably would have abandoned me anyway. Instead, I taught my son that real love sometimes looks like tough boundaries, that real family doesn't manipulate, that you can't buy your way out of consequences. And now, watching Michael chase his daughter around my backyard, seeing him be the father and husband and son I always knew he could be, I know I made the right choice. So that's my story. My son tried to con me out of my life savings, and I set a trap that changed all our lives. Some people think I was too harsh. Others say I should have cut him off completely. But I did what felt right, what I believed would give him the best chance at a real life. What would you have done? Would you have given the money, cut them off entirely, or tried something in between? Drop a comment and let me know. And if this story resonated with you, if you've dealt with family financial pressure or manipulation, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button for more stories about standing your ground and protecting yourself, even from the people you love most. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, real love sometimes means saying no, even when it breaks your heart to do it, especially then.